What is up, everyone? Anyone that has played Pokemon Go PvP at all would know that there are a lot of bugs and inconsistencies in the game, and there always have been. Honestly, right now we're in a much better spot than years ago, especially since like the start of PvP, because the game was really just a buggy mess back then, and honestly it took them like years to start fixing stuff. But eventually they did, especially around the summer of 2022. We had several like big patches which fixed some major inconsistencies and bugs, like Faster Denial, for example. I still remember the day that Faster Denial was fixed, because that was a good day. And Pokemon Go PvP was looking to be on the up, because things were actually getting fixed at a pretty rapid rate. It was nice. It was nice. But after that, not really much happened, because, I mean, they did fix some very major errors back then, but other errors got added in the game, and in the following patches, like even like 6 months ago, a new bug got added, which is pretty major. I'll talk about it later in the video, which is just really bad, and it just hasn't been fixed yet. It hasn't been fixed yet, which is so unfortunate. You know, I care about this game. I love PvP at its core. I think it's a very, very fun game. It's honestly the only game I've ever played for more than a couple years. So I love it, and I love the people, I love the community, and I want to see it continue. I want to see it continue, and I want to keep playing it, but you know, all these issues, they are definitely making me reconsider sometimes. So I'm making this video just to get some more eyeballs on these issues, and to hopefully, you know, get Niantic to fix it. I don't know if I have that much influence. I don't think I have, but you know, a man can cope, right? A man can cope. One thing I want to say before we head into this is that these kind of videos, discussions, always have a way of, you know, introducing some toxicity, which I really don't want. So I want you all to please be constructive in the comments and don't start slinging insults at individuals of Niantic. I've personally had the chance to speak to some of the main developers of Pokemon Go PvP in the past. That has already been like a couple years ago, but they're awesome. They're honestly awesome. They know what they're doing. They honestly probably already know everything about these bugs, but you know, it's just not everything. I can't say everything, but not everything is in their control. So please, no insults to the developers or whatever. You can insult Niantic however much you want, but keep like individual people out of this, because that's just not cool and not constructive at all. Anyway, let's get started. Bug number 1, the one that is annoying me the most: damage registration error, or as you may know it, new mechanic. For those of you that don't know what it is, here I've got an example situation. This is Escavalier versus Talonflame. All right, this Escavalier is gonna get incinerated down in 3 incinerates, 15 turns. It will get to the drill run right before the Talonflame is able to hit the 3rd incinerate, because it's 7 counters for the first drill run, which is 14 turns, and then the way it works is the drill run will get fired on the 15th turn, which is the same turn as the 3rd incinerate registers. But what takes precedent? Charge attack firing or fast attack damage? Will the Escavalier, or should the Escavalier, get the drill run off first or not? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Let's watch. This is the first clip, okay? This is the first clip. We're incinerating. 5 counters now. 7 counters. We don't get it. All right. But this can also go another way. Look at the right screen, okay? In the middle, we just have the same scenario as before. In the right screen, I actually end up getting it. And this, we've always called, for like a year or so, we called it new mechanic. We called it new mechanic, but that is the worst term we've ever made up for a bug. And I'll explain you why it's called a new mechanic first. The reason we're calling that new mechanic is because, well, Niantic posted a dev diary on some bugs that we're gonna fix on February 25th, 2022. This was like almost 2 years ago. And then Go Stadium did have contact with like Niantic. They were the partner program, did a little article on that too, and they said, where is it? That in this scenario, that they should get the charge attack. It says something about a drift limb somewhere. Where's the thing? Oh yeah. The example: a Metachamp survives a Shadow Ball from drift limb and is 1 HP. That trainer uses counter and goes to use Ice Punch while the opposing drift limb uses Hex. In the present structure of the game, Metachamp trainer does not get to use the Ice Punch. So let's break that down. The Medicham is at 1 HP. Is 1 counter away from the Ice Punch. Counter plus Ice Punch, that would take 3 turns, because counter is 2-turn attack. Then firing the Ice Punch on the 3rd turn. Drifblim is an Ice Punch range. Hex will do enough to knock out the Medicham, of course, in a 3-turn attack. So, again, the scenario is that the Hex would apply on the same turn as the charge attack gets fired. And the way Go Stadium puts it is that in the present situation, 2 years ago, the charge attack would not fire. Medicham does not get to use Ice Punch. But they also say, from our understanding of the update post-change, the Medicham trainer does get to use the Ice Punch. And if it's Ice Punch paints or Drifblim, no Hex damage is applied. So, what Go Stadium is saying is that the way the game was intended to work, if the bug fixes happened as intended, is that Medicham, or in this case, the Escavalier, should get the charge attack. However, 2 years later, this is not the experience, okay? This happens, that you don't get a Juron, happens 99% of the time, in my experience. This, going down a charge attack, in my eyes, should happen, because that is what happens most of the time. But sometimes, again, look at the right screen, you do get it. You do get it. And that is why I'm calling it damage registration error these days, instead of new mechanic, because I think that is a ton more accurate, because I do not think that this is intended. I have another scenario here where it's Combo O versus with Poison Jab versus Azumarill. Azumarill's 3 fast attacks away from a charge attack, which means that's 3 bubbles, 9 turns. They throw their Ice Beam on, or Play Rough, on the 10th turn, and I should be able to knock out in 5 Poison Jabs, right? But I do not. I do not. And yeah, it cost me the game. I'm pretty mad about it. Another example. This is not something that is only detrimental in these kind of scenarios, by the way. This is where the Pokemon can go down. This can also happen or can also be detrimental when the Pokemon does not go down to the fast attack. Look at this, look at this. I bring an Empoleon, I throw 1 Waterfall, and then I intend to swap. The way switches work in the game is that whenever your opponent... So I actually made a video on how switches work when you get a 0-turn swap and when you get a 1-turn swap. I'll put a link in the description, but in short, whenever your opponent throws a charge attack, you should always get and you switch during the charge attack, you should always get a 0-turn switch, unless some of your fast move damage still has to be applied to the opponent. So let's say I have a Talonflame, 5-turn Incinerate, Skarmory throws a charge attack into the Talonflame at the beginning of the Incinerate. The Incinerate damage has not yet hit the Skarmory, which means that I, the Talonflame user, should get a 1-turn switch. But in this case, I bring an Empoleon, I throw 1 Waterfall, they throw 1 Steel Wing and a charge attack. That means the Waterfall damage should already have applied before they throw the charge attack, and I should get a 0-turn switch. But in this scenario, that's not going to happen, because they get the damage registration error. As you could see, the Waterfall damage could not apply. They throw a charge attack, and after this, you're going to see me try to tap on the swap, but since they got the damage registration error, my switch does not go through, because it was a 1-turn swap. And in the case of a 1-turn swap, you actually have to hit the switch button, like, later, you know? But because they got the damage registration error, that messed me up. I have a better example of this in the video of how switches work, so I'll roll that clip right now. There is one very funky thing with this, and that is that damage application doesn't always happen on the turn where a charge move is thrown, which is best shown with 1-turn moves. Here we have Altaria versus Mr. Mime, and if everything works as we know how it should work, the Dragon Breath should apply on the same turn as the Shadow Ball is thrown, as happens here, which means I should get a 0-turn switch. Does it happen? Yes, it does. Confusions are aligned. We have gotten the 0-turn switch as expected. Thing is though, that Dragon Breath applying right there on the turn of the Shadow Ball doesn't always happen. There is a chance, it's not a very large chance, that that damage does not get applied. And that is unfortunately a very big inconsistency in the game. Right here, you might not have seen it, but the Dragon Breath actually did not apply. If you look real closely, after the Shadow Ball is thrown, you're gonna see a little bit of health taken away from the Mr. Mime because the Dragon Breath actually snuck through and applies after the charge move. Look at this. Look at the health of the Mr. Mime. Very little orange bar of health taken away, and as you can see, it was a one-turn switch there. There is another inconsistency which I believe to be the same as damage registration error, but it may be different, but it's very similar. Instead of charge attacks, it has to do with switches. So in this clip, you're gonna see Talonflame versus Trevenant. Talonflame uses 5-turn Incinerate. Trevenant uses 2-turn Shadow Claw. Trevenant is going to throw 2 Shadow Claws for 4 turns and then switch out on the 5th turn, which would be the same turn as the Incinerate would apply to Trevenant. And the way we're used to this working is that the Incinerate would be applied to the Trevenant before it switches out, and then it switches out into, I believe in this case was Aurora or Steelix, doesn't really matter. But so that the Incinerate damage should apply to the Trevenant as far as we know, but as you're gonna see in this clip, it did not apply to the Trevenant. And it didn't just not apply to the Trevenant, it also did not apply to the Steelix. That damage was actually just completely voided. If we go further along in the battle, look, the Trevenant did not take the Incinerate damage. We'll go back from it once again to Shadow Claws. They switch. Incinerate, gone. No damage. I got another example clip of this right here, of it happening to myself. I have Magnezone into this Carbig. Out comes Betterchamp. They throw 2 counters. And since they switching takes 1 turn at that time, the second counter should register on the 5th turn. And since my Voltage is a 4-turn attack, I also switch on the 5th turn. So that second counter should apply to the Magnezone. But if you look closely, I only take 1 counter of damage on the Magnezone. Here we go again. Betterchamp comes in, 1 counter. Second counter does not even apply to the Sableye. That second counter was just voided. If we go further along in the battle, once Magnezone comes back out. When does it come? Should come right now, I do believe. Once my Sableye goes down, should bring in the Magnezone. That's only 1 counter worth of damage. So the damage failed to register. Damage registration error. Very annoying inconsistency, as it can and definitely has flipped games when it really shouldn't. Next inconsistency is 1-turn desync or lag, especially when bringing in a Pokemon this often happens. Here's an example of it. After this, Escavalier goes down, or Trader's gonna bring in a Zuberon. They should sneak through a bubble, but because they lagged, generally like called a desync or a 1-turn lag, they're not gonna get that bubble. So yeah. Well, you can see why that can be very annoying, and especially on iPhone, this seems to be a very common occurrence. I think it's less common on Android. I'm very happy to say that I rarely get it, but having watched some of Rise to the Occasion's live stream, he gets it all the time on his iPhone. So very annoying inconsistency from the opponent's point of view. This is me. My opponent's gonna bring in the Turtonator, and they should get an Incinerate through, but I think they 1-turn lagged, and they did not get the Incinerate through. And in this scenario, that was very detrimental to my opponent, because that Incinerate would have actually knocked me out, and I would not have been able to get to 2 Dragon Claws. As you could see, that Incinerate that they should have gotten through to the during the first Dragon Claw already, would have knocked me out. So yeah, you can definitely see how that could change the game. Just one more scenario here. Brings in the Surf Edge, lags 1 turn upon entering, and the Charizard actually gets to the well, it should already get the charge deck before the Surf Edge, but the Surf Edge should at least get the counter through during this charge attack. But because they're 1 turn delayed, they don't, and they get 1 more counter than they should get. So during this charge attack, the Surf Edge should get a counter through, but it doesn't. 1 turn desync, very annoying. Next bug is what happens at titled Android devices, the frame drop. This is an error that's been around since the beginning of time, pretty much, never really gotten fixed. Though, it may have gotten a little better recently. I remember like a month ago I was getting them very, very often. But now, for like the past 2 weeks, I don't think I've gotten any frame drops. So this is actually a clip from like 2.5 weeks ago when I got a couple, but ever since, I haven't gotten any, so maybe I've just gotten lucky, maybe it's actually been fixed. I decided to include it anyway. Let me know down in the comments below if you're still experiencing this, because I couldn't find any more recent clips, to be honest. But yeah, frame drop pretty much, it's called, yeah, you can't really see it, is the thing in recordings, because it looks like it's just a recording error, but you're gonna see Jelly kind of stutter. Look at this. Oop. That actually happened, like, in real life on my phone. It's not just a recording error, and this is like at a moment where it didn't really matter, but I've often had it happen like right when you want to press the charge attack, and that just causes you to overtap. Yeah, we'll just do it one more time. Look at that. It just kind of, it's like you're losing some frames. That's why we call it frame drop. And closely related to that, I'm not sure if these were frame drops or just stutters, but you're gonna see Jellicent come in, and Dragonite just kind of, look, right there. It's like I get a couple Dragon Breaths in like really quick. Like it stops for a second, and then I get a couple Dragon Breaths in like really quickly. Now I throw. I think after that it's gonna stutter a bit more. I'll bring in a Bomb of Snow. Oh yeah, now to bring in the Vigoroth, and look at these Powder Snows. At some point, yeah, right now, it just stops and it goes, and it stops and it goes. It's just stuttering. Not really frame drops, but I lumped them in together because they both have a similar effect of stuttering the game, which is just extremely annoying to deal with. Next up is the infamous Go Plus issue, and this one just makes me angry. This is a bug that was introduced into the game like 6 months ago, maybe 7 months ago. I don't quite remember. But pretty much, if you've got your Go Plus connected, and you go into a Go Battle League match or a PvP match, and it spins a stop, most of the time, it will just completely crash your game and you can do nothing. Sometimes the animations just completely stop, or sometimes your Pokemon just completely stop and you just can't do anything. You lose the match. And this is such an awful bug. Honestly, it's a bug that does not affect me at all, because I'm aware of it now, and I can just remove the connectivity from my Go Plus, and it's all good. I don't lag because of the Go Plus. But the amount of people I've had come into my Twitch chat asking like, hey, my game is lagging out every single time. What is up? I'm gonna quit Pokémon GO PvP. It's not working for me. It's insane. And then I ask them like, do you have a Go Plus? Do you connect it like every time before your Go Battle? And they're like, yes. Yes, I do. And then they stopped connecting it and the bug is fixed. As someone who really likes Pokémon GO PvP, who would like more people to play Pokémon GO PvP, because I think it's a lot of fun, you know? This is why I make these videos. I want to share the fun that can be in this game with people. It's just annoying, because anyone that ever wants to try Pokémon GO PvP that has a Go Plus is just turned off from the game from the get-go, you know? And this has been in the game for half a year now. Not a word from Niantic about it. Not a word. It's awful. It's ridiculous, to be honest. It's ridiculous. Anyway, Go Plus error. Don't play the game with the Go Plus on, okay? Now you know. Oh, and the same happens with party play. If you're in a party and you play Go Battle League, the game will crash before you can win the battle. Like, what the heck? That's just crazy. The next bug is extremely annoying for high-level players. A lot of high-level players like to make sure your opponent can't, for example, catch an attack, is to wait a turn to see your opponent's fast attack animation go through, then either throw your attack in the middle of that animation or switch your own Pokemon and then throw an attack, you know, to prevent them from catching a move. But sometimes when you wait a turn, all the animations just stop. Here's an example of that. He waits. Oh! The Licky Tongue is staying. Let me switch into Tapu Fini and throw the Surf. Nope. He actually switched. Look at this. And the way I know it is not just a simultaneous switch, and the Lickitung actually did keep licking, is that you can see health go down from the Tapu Fini. Look at when the Tapu Fini comes in. Maybe I can pause at the right time. There is some health dropped. That means that for our player here, the game was completely still, whilst the opponent was actually attacking, but he could just not see the animations. For some reason, when you stop tapping, sometimes all the animations just stop. Which is awful, because, you know, that is an extremely important, like, high-level move to make. Here, I have another example here, which is even clearer. This happened, like, in an actual regional championship. Imagine, this is where money is on the line, you know? Money is on the line, and bugs like these still make a difference, you know? You're gonna see Gordon the Flash wait a turn to see if Inalicants switches into Araquanid to catch a move from the Charjabug. Alright? So he's gonna wait to see if the Gligar throws away attack and throws X-Scissor to make sure he doesn't throw into the Araquanid. But Martine is gonna switch into the Araquanid and it's not gonna appear on Gordon's screen. Look, he's already switched, it's still Gligar there, and it's gonna keep being Gligar. Until... Oh, I was wrong, by the way, he actually switched into Lickitung through a Body Slam, but the point stands. The Araquanid does not, or the Gligar does not change into Araquanid until he has already thrown a Body Slam. Look at this. It stays Gligar, it stays Gligar, it stays Gligar, Araquanid is already in the field. And then he switches into Lickitung, being like, oh, he hasn't switched. And that causes Inalicant's hair to get the catch, when honestly he shouldn't have. Because Gordon the Flash was making the right play by waiting a turn there. And yeah, that flipped the game. So, this seems to be a pretty rare bug, to be honest. Personally, I think I've only had this happen once. And I wait turns a ton. Like, almost every single game, I'm waiting at least a couple turns to make sure my opponent doesn't catch. It doesn't happen to me. I think it may be a more common issue on certain phones, or maybe on iPhones. I think, from what I've gathered, this happens way more often on iPhones than on Android. So... but yeah, regardless, it doesn't happen that often, but still, it's extremely annoying bug, especially when high-level play is involved. So this has to be fixed. This has to be fixed. This final one is a bit of a bonus bug, honestly, for all the bugs I've mentioned in this video. This is the least of my worries, to be honest, because it almost never happens. It is the double CMP or chain CMP. You're going to see a Rise here, throw a drill run on CMP with the Melmetal. What should happen is that since he has 2 drill runs, if he wants to throw the next drill run, if he throws it right after, like the Melmetal Superpower here, the Melmetal should sneak in a Thunder Shock or should be able to switch out into whatever they have in the back, you know? But what's actually gonna happen is that we're gonna see 3 attacks on the same charged move priority. And, well, I mean, props to Rise for recognizing his Winkle here, by the way, but this should not happen. This should not happen. But, it's a CMP. He taps it whilst the Melmetal is throwing the Superpower, pretty much. That turn should not be registered, but it does register. That I've actually recently I attempted to do this like 10 times, and I got it 0 times. I got it 0 times, but sometimes it does happen, and when it does happen, that can definitely be extremely powerful. So, but yeah, it does rarely happen. So I wasn't too fussed about this, but I figured I'd show you it anyway. At the very least, maybe use this to your advantage. But yeah, still, it is weird that bugs like these happen. We'll just roll it one more time. Drill run on the CMP tie. We also know it's a CMP tie because the Melmetal does not sneak in a Thunder Shock here. Otherwise, we would have seen that. So it's definitely a CMP tie. Also, if it wasn't a CMP tie, the extra drill would win the charge stack priority here on the second tie. So the first 2 attacks were CMP tied, and then extra drill just chains the third one onto there. It just sticks it onto there. I don't know how it works, but it does. It does sometimes. In this case, it was probably like very detrimental to the opponent because, yeah, because of the superpower debuff, the drill run actually knocked out. This may have been Rise's only win call, actually, which again is really good recognition. But had there not been a double CMP there, the opponent should have been able to switch out the Melmetal into Dialga, and then he could have cleared the debuff from the Melmetal and survive a drill run later on in the game. So pretty game changing there. Anyway, that was it for the bugs I wanted to highlight today. I already know whenever I talk about these small inconsistencies like damage registration error or one-turn lag, I always receive like 1 or 2 comments being like, oh, my game crashed yesterday and it lost me an entire match, and here you are just complaining about a single turn of lag, like what the heck, and my bug is bigger than yours, and like fine, you know, yes, the game crashing or losing an entire charge attack of damage is very impactful, more impactful than losing a single turn. But the reason I generally don't comment that much about those kind of errors is because they only happen very rarely. And I realized that we're playing a phone game, an online phone game on devices that are not really optimized for gaming. So that stuff I think is gonna happen. We're gonna have to accept that. But with things like one-turn lag and damage registration error, even though they have small impact, they happen almost every single match, which in my eyes makes them much more impactful than the game crashing every week, you know, in one match when you play every single one of your battles. It doesn't, for me, it doesn't even happen that often. So that's why I give a lot more weight to these small inconsistencies that happen almost every battle than to a game crash or charge attack damage not registering or whatever. Like when your charge attack doesn't happen, that only happens like once in a while. All right. Anyway, if there's more bugs you think I missed, do put them in the comments. Remember to be constructive, no toxicity, please. Thank you very much. Hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.